Thank you guys for joining. We're going to give it a couple of minutes for our guest speaker to join and allow people to roll in. Welcome, James. We're going to just give it a couple of minutes to allow people to start joining the space. And I see Neiman requested to be a speaker, so we'll wait for that.
But everyone hear me and my settings is good.
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. Great.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, we'll give it another minute to allow people to join us. Usually it takes a few minutes for people to start rolling in, and then we'll get started with the intro and introduce you. And we have really good questions prepared. We can't wait to hear all about your project.
Thanks. I'm actually quite excited many spaces or events, so it's nice to do once in a while.
Yeah, I was just going to add that it's such an innovative area. I think we all have a lot to learn about it, and it's going to be a fascinating episode.
Hope so. I'll do my best.
All right, so let's get started. Thank you everyone for joining our spaces. This is ENS Academy. Our mission is to accelerate the adoption of ENS worldwide. We bring ENS experts and entrepreneurs to share their knowledge and expertise with the community. Our goal is to educate, support, and empower anyone who can benefit from this technology. We believe ENS to be an open public utility that belongs to the community. ENS Academy aims to be the place where we can all learn the fundamental skills and the possibilities of ENS. Thank you again for joining us today. We have a really cool project, E-steroids or asteroids. Maybe you can correct me, Neiman, how to say it, but it's a search engine for decentralized websites, and it's really cool. I often go on there to see what's new. They have like a filter for new websites that have been deployed using their ENS names, and it's really exciting to see and inspiring. You can just go on there and get ideas for what you can do with your ENS name. And Neiman is a great entrepreneur. He's built this from scratch. He's a mathematician, actually, which is fascinating. I love math, and all my life I've been fascinated with numbers. And he's in crypto, building DAOs and building some awesome applications. So thank you, Neiman. I want to give you a minute to just introduce yourself and welcome you to the space.
Okay, thank you for the lovely introduction. Let me see what I can add about myself. So as you said, I studied math, and in Berlin, I think math is a big part of my identity. Though in the last 3 years already, and time really flies, I don't do actively math. I really engaged most of my time with a decentralized website. Like when I started with it, I started following like a friend who worked in Golem at the time and almost ago, and he created like a ENS decentralized website based on ENS and IPFS for himself, and he showed it to me. And this was something that I was looking for. And it was like opening my eyes. And since there 3 years, it's the main thing that I do, and it's amazing to see that something that you got into, which were like 10 websites, and I know because we counted back then, and now have a few thousand, and like the growth is really fast. So I think that like in August there were like a few hundreds adding. So the growth really goes up all the time. There are people writing me, there are people visiting it, and it's it's been an amazing journey so far. So I think that's more or less about me.
We do have questions prepared, but before we go into that, I just want to know, so if you can give us a little breakdown, like a little about us for the website. What is it? What does it do? And what do you hope for it to do moving forward?
Maybe first, I mean, I don't know if everyone that listen knows exactly what are decentralized websites. So maybe I could say, like 1 minute about that, and then like another 2-3 minutes about asteroids.
Absolutely.
Would it be okay?
Perfect.
Okay, great.
Yes, give us a breakdown.
Good. So this thing, decentralized websites, in the time that I'm working on it, I changed how I call it a few times. It became decentralized website, and then I found out that when I say decentralized websites 3 times in a row, I break my tongue. English is not my mother tongue, so we started to call it the website. And then at some point, because all the websites that we work on, the technology, it's all based on ENS. I mean, the names of the websites are ENS names, and the storage is IPFS. So we start to call it .eth websites, and now we just call the whole ecosystem .eth web. And we also have like a .eth websites subgroup in ENS DAO, because this is, I think, in my eyes, one of the main use cases of ENS, and definitely the one which is the least explored by now. And the whole idea is websites which are based only on decentralized networks, only on decentralized technology. So we use ENS first, other people ENS and Arweave, ENS and Skynet. This is an ENS space, so I'm not supposed to say, but there are also people who do websites, decentralized websites with other name services, not ENS. And this is all under this category of decentralized websites. And for me, the reason that I was so excited about it when I first, saw someone do that, is that it's like a natural component in this ecosystem, because the core of our ecosystem is decentralized networks, peer-to-peer networks. I mean, this is what Ethereum is. And we do involve lots of, centralized stuff like this Twitter space, because you cannot do everything decentralized. But the moment that you have an alternative, I think you should try to switch to it and see what you can do with it, because it brings so much more benefit to the user to do stuff decentralized. If this is understandable, then I can move on to asteroids.
Yeah. Give us a little bit about why decentralized websites. I know they are, for example, censorship proof, right? Like no one can really take down a decentralized website.
Right. I mean, I think that there are 3 properties that every peer-to-peer network has, and this also, and then by proxy, they also go through decentralized websites. One of them is censorship resistance. So to take off a decentralized website, to block it completely, you have to block the peer-to-peer network that it lives on. In our case, it's Ethereum peer-to-peer and IPFS, and it's really difficult to block a peer-to-peer network without blocking the whole internet. So it's quite censorship resistance. For the same reason, the second property, that it's robust. So not only that you can't censor it, it's also very difficult to DDoS, to take down. Like, it's a very robust website. And I always tell the same example, but it's the best example that I have. That the first project that I did in this ecosystem was called Almonit. And Almonit, in a peer-to-peer network, you have to somehow pin the content of the website. Like one person in the network needs to have it for this to be accessible. And I was pinning Almonit website from my own personal server. And I stopped doing it when Almonit, stopped being active, which is a year and a half ago. But if you go to almonit.eth.limo, the website is still there. Like, it's so robust that even that I don't pin it anymore, the website still exists. And the other thing, the last thing is that I don't want to say it's private because, there is no absolute privacy, and peer-to-peer networks is more private in some things and less in other things, but it has different privacy than centralized website, especially between the user and the person who makes the website. It also allows you to make a website in a private way, so it helps with that. And basically, you can add to it lots of cryptography, which is something people didn't do so far. But you can make it like a really nice, give it really nice privacy, which is harder in centralized websites. This is like the three obvious reasons in anything which is almost peer-to-peer or decentralized. But then there is one more property which I really like about decentralized websites. It's the fact that you can make community websites. You can make community platform. So because the architecture of the classic web, of the web that we use so far, the protocol has only one way to make a website. It's the client server model. So there is a person, a user who goes to a website, and a place, a user who goes to a website, and there is a server or many servers but basically it all, like, who has the website, and it all belongs to one entity. And it's always like you versus like some kind of service provider. And I grew up in communities all of my life, and sometimes when you grow up in a community, when you really care about what you do, and there starts to be some kind of disagreement, this person wants to write that person wants to write that, it's not so easy to have a community website. If you want the community to give service to the members or give service to other people, it becomes very difficult with the client server model, because eventually you really have to trust one person in the community to do that. So with this .eth website, you can have beautiful community platforms which are controlled by a DAO, and the members of the DAO are the users of the websites. And this is for me like such a strong thing which hasn't been so much investigated so far. I think mostly because it has like some technical challenges. I mean, like not challenges, but it just needs a bit more work. We are working towards this direction. I know that now some DAOs start to work towards this direction, to have like a website for the DAO, which is also a community website. DXDAO already have it. I think Ethereum OS is another example. And this is for me like such a unique, powerful property of decentralized websites, which centralized websites just cannot do.
That's so powerful, and you're right. I mean, I think we are so early, right? People are still not aware what they can do with this technology. I think once, and this is what we're doing as part of ENS Academy. We want to bring awareness to these facts that, hey, you can take this and build a business, build a DAO, and give subdomains to your members, and the possibilities are endless. But thank you so much for that introduction. So what is Estroids?
Right. Asteroids is a community.eth search engine for .eth website. And I guess that, if I finish this show and people remember that Asteroids is a search engine for the .eth web, I should consider myself lucky. I mean, that's the main thing that we do. This statement comes, like, some people in tweets or in person call us, the Google of .eth web, which is, I mean, it's a huge compliment always to hear that, and it's also natural when you do a search engine, people compare it automatically to Google, but that's not what. First, because we don't like Google. Like, what we do build is an alternative for the centralized web, so we don't want to be Google. We don't want to end up being like a huge corporate. Our goal is like to be a community search engine. We want with the time that there would be like to give parts of the search engine and eventually also ownership of the search engine to a DAO which will be run by the community, probably based on some kind of reputation, so it will be really make sure that no one can buy control over it. And then we want this community to decide how things are monetized, to make sure that the users are not being manipulated, that it is their favor, which is the decisions are made when they think about the visitors and the user favor. We also like right now we have an index that we curate ourselves. It has almost 4,000 websites. I mean, more or less, the number jumps every day. And right now, the way that we basically curate that is that we try to include all websites which has enough content. So if you make a website writing this is a test, then we won't include it because we want to present what is really there and not this kind of tests. But we try to include everything. However, at some point, and maybe already now with the Tornado Cache, starts to be a question what's to include that, and we don't want to have the responsibility to decide that. Like we don't want to make those decisions. So our goal eventually is to be a community search engine, which is kind of an access page for the .eth web. However, and I think it's very we are a project in a super young ecosystem, and I don't speak about the ENS ecosystem, but I speak about .eth websites ecosystem. And when you do a project in such an ecosystem, you find out that so many things are missing, that it's natural that you start to have all kind of small projects. I mean, like Ethereum, in the beginning we have Ethereum and Solidity and Whisper, which was like a peer-to-peer communication protocol, and ENS, and they had Mist, which was a browser, because all of those things were missing. Some of them, ended up being a huge success, like ENS and Solidity. Others disappeared, which is natural. But Ethereum in the beginning did all those things because they were needed, and we are right now in the stage that we also add things which are needed. So another sub-project that we have by people from our organization is D-Web Services, which is basically if you have a .eth website and you want to use technology called IPNS to update that for free, fast, and as many times as you want, you can use our services, which are for free. It's for the community. And another service that we work on is that we had a problem that we had no, you build those websites, and because you are so decentralized, you are like in the dark. You don't know how many people visit you, and it's impossible to develop a good product without knowing anything about how many people come and how changes affect the number of visitors. So we are working now on like a project which is like decentralized analytics. It's going to be a peer-to-peer analytics, which completely privacy preserving for the visitors, but it would allow people who have .eth websites to know how many visitors they have, and then when they make a change, they could slowly improve the website based on that. It's crucial for us because we want to know what a search engine for the .eth web is supposed to be. We do, as I said, it's a young ecosystem. We do a lot, but I think right now these are probably the three things to emphasize. The search engine is the main thing, and we are super proud of it. And then the D-Web services. If you have a .eth website, check it out. And soon the analytics, which is not there yet, but it's very close to be there. And if you have a website, you want to know how many visitors you have, go ahead, contact me, contact us, privately, our Discord, whatever you want, and we'll be happy to help.
Wow. You heard it here, guys. The analytics piece is coming. I think that's so valuable. It's kind of like a missing piece right now for decentralized websites, and I'm very excited. You guys are executing, efficiently, and I'm happy to have you in the space. Really, James. Let's get started with our questions. Hello, James.
Yeah, questions.
Yes. So we have a bunch of questions that we've put together. I guess the best place to start would be is if we take a step back and ask, what is your vision for the decentralized web?
Sure. I have to say, if I start answering questions too long, let me know. I have a tendency to not know when to finish a speech. So, like we think, and we think that the current web is a place which is very unsafe for the common users. I feel it all the time. My privacy is being breached. I'm being manipulated, and I see that I'm being manipulated, and I am manipulated. I have so many examples of it because I'm a human. It's easier to manipulate me. Decisions are not made in my favor. My social feed doesn't show me what I want, and all this kind of stuff. And our goal, our vision, is to build a decentralized web as an alternative to the current web, which we see problems with. And especially we want the decentralized web to be something where the user interest is first. Like all people can somehow compete with those huge corporate and huge companies who right now control the central internet. The .eth web is like one huge component in this vision of alternative web, which is more fair for the user. And it's a very important component, because one reason that you can't compete with huge companies is because alone, on your own, you don't have the resources to do that. You can't do anything on your own. Most people don't have the capital or the resources to do anything without going to venture capitals. And the moment that you go to venture capitals, mostly the incentives change towards quick profit and not towards the users. Even if you do go to a venture capital, I don't think that any crazy venture capital would give you now money to really compete with Google or stuff like that, or with Apple or with Amazon. I mean, some companies do get it, but that's like a minority. But one thing that like along the history, people were able to compete with big cooperatives was, with big corporates, was cooperatives. So, was organizations where many people grouped together, they combined their resources, they combined their time, and, together we are stronger. So that's what we want to check with this experiment, which is called .eth web and decentralized web. I'm not sure if vision is the right word, because I don't see the future, but it's something that I want to check out. If we can here take all those resources of groups going together, the amazing things that DAOs do, and compete, create a competition which is as good and maybe even better than the centralized platforms that we have right now. Create like a better web. And ENS is an inspiration in this aspect, because ENS managed to do it without investors, and they did an amazing job. So that's like really, you see something that managed, and you say, hey, I want to do the same, just on a different topic.
Well, continuing with the thread, what would it take for decentralized websites to go from niche to mainstream?
Neiman, you're on mute if you're speaking.
Damn it. Sorry. I said, this is like really the second space I'd ever participate in, so I'm a noob. Sorry. It's a great question. It's a fantastic question. I don't have a super quick answer, because if we had an answer, we would do those things and already take it out of the niche. But one thing that obviously is needed is just time for things to mature, for idea to sink, for people to make experiment. Another thing that we miss is infrastructure or tools. It's not so easy right now to make even a simple decentralized website if you're not a developer. So they started to pop up recently kind of website generators like Nimi, but they are still simple, and it's a drop in the sea. And if you want this thing to catch on, you need to have more tools. You also need to have examples for success. I think it's something very important. So we see so many different things being done, And the moment that one of them would be a huge success, then you would see a gold rush coming to this field. But it's a matter of experiments. There are challenges for the .eth web. And again, Tornado Cache examples exposed them. And I'm not taking here any stance on Tornado Cache. And just, it's something that exposed issues that the technology has. There are challenges with accessibility. It's still like unclear for the community even what is the best way that browsers should integrate decentralized websites. If we are going to rely on Gateway, and that's a very good possibility, what's a business model for Gateway? Because for this to be really decentralized and really all those properties, censorship resistance, robust to take place, it needs to have a lot of gateways in different parts of the planet. And for this, we need to have a business models because they can't all of them be public goods which are supported by DAOs, because operating a gateway costs a lot, and the more popular .eth would be, the more it would cost. Tooling is another challenge. Innovation, discoverability is the challenge that we work on. Letting people to know what they do. Interactivity. So it's very nice that we want to have community platforms which are fair, but they also needs to be cool. And like step after step, you get more and more interactive platforms, but every new platform expands a bit the horizon and invents new things. Now there is Taboola by Gnosis, which is a blogging platform. There is a platform that we released, which is my baby. It's called Citadef. It's also a completely crazy blogging platform, which is kind of more, it's an experiment, super strange, but if you like strange things, come and check it out. Citadef, C-I. I'm not going to try to spell it. That's something going off the air in Latin, my mother tongue. It's not going to work. I'm going to do a spelling mistake. So you have all those challenges. You have lots of experiments going on. You have lots of tools being built, and you wait for examples of huge success. I think eventually what it takes is just a matter of time. And maybe also the end of the bear market, but honestly, I think that a success can also come in a bear market, so that's not an issue.
Well, adding to that, do you think that in the future, do you see companies having both a centralized and decentralized website, or would there not be a need for both?
Right. It's something that actually, I spent a lot of time thinking on. So the question is, which kind of companies do you mean? Commercial companies? I don't think so. Mostly not. I mean, commercial companies are super happy with the current web. The current web has its own lots of pros. If they will have a decentralized website, maybe it will be because of hype. Maybe it would be because they are triggered for legal reasons. Decentralization sometimes is used for legal reasons. Maybe it will be because they are in a triggered topic and they want to involve the community and use the power. But in general, I think most centralized websites are happy with the current websites, structure of websites, and maybe they don't need it so much. NGOs, I think, yes. I think that NGOs, even one of not related to blockchain, should have a decentralized websites because it breaks down their level of structure. I mean, it empowers their, it gives more power to the organization over individual who controls it. It gives them more power when they come to negotiate with governments if their website does not depend on anything. I think NGOs should have it. Blockchain organization like DAOs, definitely. I think that we should have, and I think that we would have, like decentralized websites. It's just a matter of time. And dApps, I mean, decentralized websites, like for me, the last mile of decentralization for dApps. And I see a lot of the new ones which already have it. Some don't have it yet, either because the hype is not there to their taste, or because what they do kind of also have centralized parts which are difficult to replace. But I think with time, dApps should have it because dApps supposed to be decentralized applications, and you're only as decentralized as your least decentralized part. So if you have a centralized website, it's a bottleneck. So I think that they would have it.
A great follow-up question to that. So you mentioned DAOs. I'm super bullish on DAOs. I believe they're a transformative development in Web3. Um, in my mind, essentially, they're like the reinvention of the corporation after hundreds, if not thousands, of years. And I do see it as a mass market adoption. I think, DAOs will be used all over the world in every type of business, every type of commercial activity. And if that is the case, you're saying that DAOs would be a great use case for decentralized websites. Could you talk to that point a little bit?
Sure. First, I completely agree with you. DAO is a mental innovation in the legal theory of organizations. I don't know if thousands of years, because I also think that the modern corporate and the shares company and the cooperatives were all innovations that changed the world, and they are great. But I would say in the last 100 or 200 years, 100 years, DAOs is amazing. It also solves a problem that again, coming back to communities, I always had. I always do stuff as a hobby, and at some point we want to get serious, but I do it in the internet, and I do it with 5 people from 5 different countries, and we don't know where to register an organization. International organization is something which is not, which like it exists, but it hardly exists really for unique cases. And DAOs really solves it. It lets you do internet organizations, digital organizations. I think like it's an amazing tool, which, as you said, the more global the world will become, and the more business will live in the internet, the more DAOs will be powerful. Second thing, there are already DAOs who have decentralized websites, and it's always easiest to understand with an example. And I really think that DXDAO is a fantastic example for everyone to look at if you don't know it. It's a DAO whose goal is decentralization. They do all kind of apps, and they one of the biggest users of ENS among DAOs. Then for DAOs to use, for DAOs to use ENS, it's one thing is obvious with the subdomains for members, but that's not our topic today. The topic is the website, and the website is the face of the organization. The website is where the organization gives their official messages. It's where people who wants to know what goes with a DAO, they go to a website or to a forum or to a Discord, but I know that some DAOs, there are problems with the forum of the Discord because there is a manager and sometimes start to have arguments of who deletes which message and how things are moderated. When a DAO have a decentralized website and the DAO has a protocol of how the DAO on-chain updates this website, you know that what you get there is what the people of the DAO wants you to see. It's what the organization, it's the official organization statement. It kind of, for me, converts this organization into a person that now I can see official publications, and I know that it comes from the members of the organization and not from some specific person who may use their position to influence things. Then, of course, there's the thing that having a decentralized website is going to help DAO, I think, legally, because it's managed by the organization and not by one person, not in one location on the planet, not in one jurisdiction. I think it's something which is going to help them, but all the legal topics in ENS, I leave to ENS punks. I just ask questions.
Well, as a side note, I just want to say that this is one of the reasons I love being part of ENS Academy is we get to have really interesting conversations with smart people from throughout the industry. So if I were to follow up with that, I would your last point. I would ask, um, in preparation for this event, I went through a lot of your tweets, and you made an observation that a lot of dApps don't use a .eth website. Why might that be the case, you think?
Right. Yeah, I did make this observation. I think that quite recently. I also think that I just said before that many dApps have a .eth website, but I'm just not sure how many people use the .eth website. So maybe the problem is that the dApps themselves don't promote it. The ENS app have a .eth website. It's app.ens.eth. I don't use it because I actually don't know, because they don't promote it. ENS DAO don't promote it, and I think I follow ENS DAO quite closely. I didn't see it promoted, and I don't know if it's always the latest version. Snapshot, they have a .eth website, which I don't use really, also because they don't promote it. So some dApps, and I think lots of main dApps, they have a .eth website, and it's just a matter of promotion. But going back with you, I mean, this question really relates to why do we have only a few thousand websites and you have not a few 100,000 websites? Lack of infrastructure. So eventually, right now, you access .eth websites in one gateway mostly, ETH Limo, which do amazing job, but it's one gateway. ETH Link recently has been done a lot, so it's not done a lot, it's not reliable. You can access with Brave, but it's only in the desktop, and you actually have to maybe to configure your Brave for it to work properly. And also then there's kind of centralization. And then it's not, I mean, as someone who builds lots of dApps and then transfer them to .eth websites, it's not straightforward yet. And I guess that dApps, like any other project, really struggle. So to add a technology which is not being hyped yet, which is young, which add more difficulty to your project at this point because it's still, fresh and new, it's maybe something that they don't want to put the effort for understandable reason. But I repeat myself, sorry for doing that. I think it's a matter of time.
And just adding to that, when you look at the decentralized websites, what trends are you seeing? Are there any that stand out to you? I know it's early, but from whatever you're seeing so far.
No, that's a great question, because one of the things, so I said I do it since 3 years, and when I started doing decentralized website, NFTs were not a thing. I mean, CryptoKitties and CryptoPunks were there, but they were not like a thing. And then at some point, I started to tell people, and I don't know, I could bring my friends here to testify. I started to tell them, hey, you should start doing NFTs, because I start to see lots of websites with NFTs, and you see that sometimes the early adopters go for the early technology, so you can actually spot trends there. But right now we're in a bear market, so I'll speak about trends of decentralized websites. One thing which definitely pops up in the last few months is generators. So until a few months ago, if you wanted to build a .eth website, you had to do it yourself. And I mean, you can build a website if you're not a super technical person, but it still requires effort and requires knowledge. And what we start to see now are generators. Nimi, I think, is the first one which actually became a bit of famous. They had in one day a few hundreds people using Nimi to make websites. From what I was told, it was because some Chinese famous Twitter guy found them, tweeted it, and suddenly lots of people discovered them by that. And this was awesome for them, less awesome for me, because right now we manually approve every website in order to, be careful of boring websites like Hello World or Test. And I had in this day to have to click a few thousand times approve, so it was a bit annoying. So generators, that's one trend. It's a trend that I think it will become bigger and stronger because it's possible to do. It's just waiting for people to build it. And Nimi right now focus on personal websites, but you can do other stuff. I did this Citadel for blogs, the Bullites. It's like another kind of generator for blogs, but I think that more stuff surely is coming. The other thing that's related to this is personal websites. Like the beginning, there were always lots of personal websites in the .eth web, but they were personal websites of really heavy geeks who like, white text or green text on a black screen. And now you start to have personal websites which looks like a personal page in a social media. And I think that it's a trend that starts to be, it's kind of my focus, that I think that if you would have a social media based on ENS, then it would be using a lot of those personal websites. I don't know how it would happen. Maybe Lens would use it at some point, but that's one thing that I see a lot. And the last thing, IPNS, there are more and more websites which are based on IPNS, which lets you update your website very fast and for free. And that's why lots of decentralized websites, which used to be it used to be updated once a week because it was such a slow process and expensive when the gas is expensive. And now you see many of the new ones, like I didn't do statistics for that, so I'm not sure how, but like I see many of the new ones which are IPNS, and that's why they are more dynamic than before. And I think, like at least for the near future, I think that IPNS is going to be the standard for decentralized websites. For the longer term, it's yet difficult to say.
You had mentioned that you saw the NFT opportunity early with CryptoKitties and the punks. I mean, which was really many years ago, but you had a front view seat to that very early on, and arguably more importantly, you recognized that this was going to be something important. Um, what would you say today in middle of 2022, like what might be something similar to that is a big emerging opportunity that you see?
Wow, that's a tough question. I think the problem that when I started with blockchain in 2016, right after I finished PhD, and in the beginning, I wrote some dApps early on in 2016, but they were experiments. And I did all kind of things, but because I was new to that and because I didn't yet have a project, I had like a front seat to follow everything and to see what's being developed. And now, running a project, I don't have this front seat anymore. Right now, I am deep in my head inside of decentralized web, and which is why, if you ask me now, I will definitely tell you that decentralized web, .eth web, or everything relates to ENS. This is a trend that starts to happen now. It will become bigger, but unlike before, I don't have the panorama view to really say a strong statement. So sorry if the answer is a bit disappointing.
No, it makes sense. I totally get what you're saying. I guess my last question would be is, uh, how do you see the future of ENS, from your perspective?
Right. I mean, we use ENS for names of decentralized websites, and we also use ENS as identity. This is the two things that we use ENS. And the thing that I want ENS to have is more privacy, especially when it comes to the identity. There used to be, at the time that my head was up, like 2018, 19, I used to see lots of projects which were about blockchain-based identity. Also now, I see, Gitcoin Password, which is a blockchain-based identity. And those projects were super awesome in the sense that it's not only that you got a decentralized identity, they use all kind of cryptography, like, zero knowledge proofs in order to prove things to a website without exposing who you are. And that's like one direction that I want to see ENS going. I want to be able to log in with ENS without the website actually knowing my ENS name, just knowing that I have a name and that I paid for it some amount of money, so they could be quite sure that I don't, Sibyl attack them, or if I do Sibyl attack, it's quite expensive. I also want them to be able to block this name without actually knowing my name. I want to prove to them sometimes maybe that my ENS, or that I have an ENS name that has an address that has some amount of money, or that I stake some amount of money, again, without them knowing who I am. And all of those things, I think, are possible. As I said, I saw projects going those direction before ENS was popular in 2018. I'm a bit afraid to tell the names because I remember right now Civic. I don't remember the rest. I don't want to mispronounce anything. I don't know what happened with this field because I wasn't following. I'm sure that it developed a lot since then. But for me and for us, I think for the future, I speak about this web to be a version of the current web, which is more fair for the user with better privacy. And I think that some kind of adding privacy to ENS and giving the ability to prove things without exposing who you are, or for websites to block you without knowing who you are, is like really something which is very important for me in the future of ENS.
Thank you, Neiman. I mean, wow, this conversation was so insightful. Thank you, James, for the awesome questions. I wanted to open it up to the community. If you guys have any questions for Neiman about the projects they're working on, please go ahead now. We do have about 5 minutes left. And meanwhile, while we wait for questions from the community, are you guys working on making are you like, for example, on asteroids? I would like to see more categorization. Like I don't, I have to scroll through a lot of websites to kind of find what I'm interested in. What do you think about that? Maybe like tags or any way to make it easily searchable?
Yep, definitely. I mean, again, the previous project that I did, Almonit, we had categories. I was doing them manually, and I didn't want to do that here, so that's why we don't have them. Also, we kind of hoped that the search capabilities would compensate it, but it's not really true because people don't know which categories to look for. I mean, you need to know what's going on. There is one thing that we have already, okay, we have a popular section, but it's been neglected since the beginning. And we start to revamp it now to, give them like only new popular websites. Once we have the analytics working, it would be, of course, much easier because then we would know at least which websites are popular. And this would be like one easy fix for you not having to scroll, but you being able to know quickly which websites are popular right now from the new ones. Like we want to focus on the innovation still in this ecosystem and not on a new great not on old great websites. And and we also want a bit to change the UX to highlight the popular websites. Tags is definitely down the roadmap, but like my personal philosophy for a project in such a small ecosystem in this stage is not to have like a really long-term roadmap. Like our roadmap is basically a month ahead plus a vision. So tags is not in the month ahead timeline, but it is in our tasks list, and we will definitely add it because you are not the first person, obviously, who asked, but people want to be able to see sections of the .th web.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, like for example, automotive could be a tag where you could now see all these type of websites. And but yeah, let's go on to our question, our audience. We have Gold Star Gway. Go ahead.
Hi there. Thank you for having me up. I've enjoyed listening and learning everything that's been said today. So thank you for sharing. My question is, if I were to onboard somebody into Web3, what would be the best, or what's the, like, again, I don't claim to ever know anything, or not anything, but everything about Web3. But how do you onboard somebody that doesn't even know what DNS means? Like,
yeah, I get it. I mean, honestly, I ask myself these questions every day. I don't really live with my head in the project. I have also a life outside Web3 with lots of friends from different places, and they ask me the same thing. Sometimes in an angry way because they think that Web3 is all scams and pyramid Ponzi schemes. And it's a great question, and I think the answer that I honestly now tell myself is depends on the person. So there are people that I managed to drag to Web3 because they care about some values that the current web don't have. Like identity or they face some problems with banks. I mean, there are lots of people who have that. They face some problems with social media who blocked them unjustifiably in the case of some of my friends. And then it's easy to come and tell them, hey, check it out, what's going on here. It's not like a Ponzi scheme. It's just an alternative to the digital world that you already live in. And the easiest way that normally I tell people is to buy an ENS name, and ENS have like an onboarding call, which I send for a lot of people at least. So that's one thing. And the other kind of, I mean, if you I mean, I intentionally don't mention people who wants to get rich, because it's very easy to drag them. But the other kind of people that I was able to drag easily into Web3 without them knowing anything about DNS is people who are human science intellectuals. Like, I think what's going on here is fascinating from the legal point of view, from the social point of view, from philosophical point of view, and like I speak with lots of lawyers. I have, like, in my Ciclo group lots of lawyers, and I was able to get lots of them to read all kind of stuff about DAOs and about what we do, because this ecosystem is fascinating, really, not only for the technical people, I think for everyone who is human and curious enough.
Thank you. I super appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm gonna add to that also, Gold Star. I think it depends on the person. Like, there's many use cases that ENS enables, and for example, imagine now anyone around the world using IPFS and their ENS name can launch a website that for free, right? There's no hosting fee, and I think that's so powerful. If you think about the hosting fee alone, and the fact that they're censorship proof, I think that's powerful. It's going to enable a lot of people around the world, but also it's a username. Yes, we're still so early. I think that's the issue here. We're asking ourselves this question, but I think the answer is, like, it's still early, and it's good that it's early. It's good for us to start learning this technology and starting careers and starting projects before anyone else. And I think that that's an opportunity for us. But yeah, thank you so much for your question. And Neiman, thank you so much for all, the insights, for what you're doing in the space. I'm very excited for your projects. I'm excited for the analytics project that's coming out. I think you're putting all the pieces of the puzzle together for when mass adoption happens. You're going to be there to kind of provide all that value. So thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for your time, and thank you for all the good, kind words and the patience for me talking too much. It was a fantastic experience. I'm glad to be here.
No, you didn't talk too much. What I'm gonna do, I'm going to upload this episode into our podcast and then share the link with you. You can share it with your audience and your communities. People, 6 months from now, they can come in and learn more about your story and what you're doing with the website. So we're very excited. Also, I'll invite you to what I'm gonna do. We have a ENS forum. I'm going to create a tag for asteroids so that people can come in and interact with you directly. They can ask questions and have discussions on the forum. James, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I was just going to say, thanks so much. I think everyone learned a lot, and that I would encourage everyone to take a look at all of our episodes on iTunes and Spotify. We have some amazing thought leaders in there, and I actually re-listened to some of them because there's so much valuable information that it's hard to catch it all in the first time around.
Absolutely. I invite you all to subscribe to our podcast. Also, join us next Monday. We have a space about subdomains. We're interviewing the founders of ESF.eth, which is a tool that allows you to create subdomains and lease them out and sell them. And it's before the post wrapper even came out, and I'm very curious to see what what that means when the wrapper comes out. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Neiman, and we look forward to hosting you again. Maybe when the analytics piece comes out, we can talk about that.
Gladly. Thank you one more time. Have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Have a nice day, everybody. Bye-bye.